You are now about to start recording the shir. When you are finished, please hang up.
Welcome everyone, as we welcome in Saba, we welcome in Irving Fishbaum, and we welcome in Reb Kramer, we welcome in Aaron Swade, A.B. Spry, Mo Kushner, Mel Zachner, Berish Gesserman, Nachman Chapler, Shimon Klein, Baruch Ian, Eddie Chazan, Yisrael Fisher, Rabbi Kranz, Ruvain Pollack, Moshe Lehman, Avram Schenkman, Yitzi Muller, Yehuda Shmuel Eisenberg, Dr. Guy. We welcome in David Helfgott on Karl Loshin. We are sponsored by Aaron Swade, Le'ilui Nishmas, Chana Bas Shmuel, and his sister Freda Bas Shaul. By Mark Frankel, Refuah Shalema for Miriam Sora Bas Tzipora, by Beirach Goldwasser with Akar Satayv to Hashem, and for Tefillah for all Chayla Yisrael. Shimon Deer also wants to daven especially for the Chayla Daf and the Chayla Yisrael. And finally, by Baruch Ian, first of all, he should have a Refuah Shalema, and also Lili Nishmas, Esther Bas Yomi, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Abram Ben Shmuel HaKayin, that the Neshama should have an Aliyah. We learned from my Shver, Avigdor Ben Rivka. Today was the yahrzeit of my first shviger, Miriam Libby's mother, who was a very holy woman. She was the secretary of Henkin, Devara Bas Arya Leib, so we learned for her. It was also, I believe, the yahrzeit of Rav Palm and the first Galena Rebbe, and it's also the yahrzeit, unfortunately now, the passing of the great Rahman Strifka Rebbe at the age of 92, and may his neshama have a lichte galiyah as well. We are holding now, as we welcome in Michal, we are holding now by V'hoditnan, 4 lines from the top of Gimel Amud Aleph. We're not finished with Derech and Davar. And these Gemaras are a lesson to us on how precise the language of the Mishnah is. Derech, Davar, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. And there's a precise reason why it says Derech or why it says Davar. Rich Lenner has just joined us, Baruch Hashem, and Dr. Block, and it's great to have all of you, Yehuda from Yerushalayim, joining us. So, again, we are holding 4 lines from the top of Gimel Amud Aleph. We're going to learn now about one of the Talmudic mystery animals. One of the Talmudic mystery animals, we don't even know how to pronounce it. We don't know what it is. We don't know how to pronounce it. And whatever it is, we don't know what it is. It's really, it's one of the mysteries of the Talmud. Usually people call it a koi. But there is another pronunciation, kvi. Most people say it as a koi, and that's the way I've been pronouncing it all the years, but some pronounce it as a kvi. Now, we don't even know what the koi is. We know that it's a suffix, whether it's a chaya, beast, or a behema, or a domesticated animal, or a beria b'fnei atzmo, or a creature unto itself. What it is, some say it's a buffalo. Others say, and this is probably the most accepted explanation, is it's a crossbreed of a gazelle and a goat, or a deer and a goat. So the Mishnah says, "V'aditnan koi yesh by drachim shavel l'chaya." There's a way that it's similar to a beast. Since we don't know, so we do kisei adam like we do by a beast. After shechting it, we have to cover its blood, which we do by a chaya and by oifus. V'yesh by drachim shavel behema. Since it might be a domesticated animal, its kalev, its fat, is forbidden. V'yesh by drachim shavel l'chaya lebehema. There is a way that it's similar to a beast and an animal, in that it needs shchita for sure, like a chaya and a behema. V'yesh by drachim she'ena shavel loy l'chaya v'loy lebehema. Since we're not sure what it is, it can't be crossbred neither with a chaya nor with an animal. The question is, why does it say derech over there? Nisnei devarim. Let it say devarim. V'su hadit nan zu achas min adrachim sheshavu gitei nashim l'shichruri avodim. this is one of the ways that Gitei Noshim are similar to the emancipation of slaves, that by both, if you bring, whether it's a get of a woman or a emancipation of a slave, you have to say, if you bring it from Chutz La'aretz, you have to say, B'fanei nichtam, B'fanei nechtam. Why does it say over there, Derech Nisnei Devar? Rather, the Gemara now introduces a whole new idea of when it says Derech and when it says Davar. Elakol Eicha De'ika Plukta. Whenever we make a distinction, and that is, it's only in these three ways that you could acquire a woman with kesef, shtar, and bia, but not with chuppah. So there's a distinction. So kol eicha the ika plukta tani drachim. The kol eicha the leka plukta, when we're not ruling something out, tani dvarim. And dekenami the tani seifa. Remember we talked about esrig, that in three ways an esrig is similar to a tree, and one way it's similar to a vegetable. Rabbi Eliezer Omer esrig shavu le'ilam l'chol davar. Esrig is like a tree in all areas, that even when it's question of which year it belongs to, it's determined when the fruit emerges and not when it's picked. So it's like a tree in all areas and not like a vegetable at all. So there's no distinction. So if it's no distinction, so there it switches to davar shmamina. That's a good proof. As we welcome in Marshall Castle, joining us from his castle, and we're holding by the two dots, which is situated 8 lines from the bottom of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. If you have joined us late, you've already missed the Mishnah Yomis, and when I came on, at the time we were supposed to start, we only had 7 people here, so I did the Mishnah Yomis first. We now, it says that a woman is acquired in 3 ways, and she's freed in 2 ways. So, whenever it says a number, if it says kesef, shtar, and bia, we know it's 3. We know how to count. If it says 3, that comes to tell us it excludes something. And it says a woman is freed in 2 ways, with a get and the death of the husband, lo yaleinu. We know how to count. So it's also coming to exclude something. So right away the Gemara says, Minyana de Reisha Lamute Mai. The number 3 in the ratio, what's that coming to exclude? And Minyana de Sefer Lamute Mai. And the number of 2 in the Sefer, what's that coming to exclude? So the Gemara says, Minyana de Reisha Lamute Chuppah. That if the man takes her under a canopy and says Hariyat Mekudeshesli by bringing her under the chuppah, that's not enough to acquire her. Says the Gemara, Minyana de Meishel Lamute Chuppah. Now, not everybody holds that way. Rav Huna Damar Chuppah Kaina, according to Rav Huna, who says that chuppah acquires her, and he learns it out, Mikal v'chaimer, later on Daf Hey, the Gemara is going to say that he learns out that Kal v'chaimer, if the chuppah could acquire the consummation of the higher stage of Nisuin, so it should surely acquire her the initial stage of Kesef. So Rav Huna learns out from a Kal v'chaimer that chuppah is kaina. The Gemara will say that Kesef doesn't make Nisuin, but it does Kiddushin. So Chuppah, which makes Nisuin, should surely do Kiddushin. So, according to Rav Huna, if Chuppah does acquire her, then Lemute Mai, the number 3, what does it come to exclude? Lemute Chalipin. Oh, there is a kinyan. It's one of the 7 kinyanim which I do with the guy when I do Mechiras Chametz. The guy gives me an article, gives me a glove, right? He gives me an article, and in lieu of that, he acquires the chametz. We need kelev shel kaina, the kelev of the one who is acquiring, right? So I might think that the husband could give a wife a handkerchief and acquire her. So it comes to tell me that she's not acquired with chalipin. Because I would think, since we learn it out from the purchase of the Marasa Machpelah, so kedaita chamina hoil v'gama kicha mistei Ephron. We learn out kicha from the stei Ephron, from the field of Ephron, from the Marasa Machpelah. Ma'asada miknaya b'chalipin. Just like real estate could be acquired with the kinyan of chalipin, I would say afi shenami mikanya b'chalipin. Kamash malan, says the Gemara v'ema hachanami. Maybe you should be able to acquire her with chalipin. Says the Gemara, you know why you can't acquire with chalipin? Because the instrument of chalipin, the symbolic kinyan of chalipin works even if the article you give to the person is less than a shava pruta. In other words, if there's you could do chalipin with a half chewed up big pen. That's not worth a pruta. But if you give the chewed up pen, you acquire instead with chalipin. But a woman doesn't give herself over for something that's less than a pruta. So chalipin isnu b'pachas mishava pruta. It works even if the article is less than a shava pruta. And the isha b'pachas mishava pruta, and a woman with less than a shava pruta, loy mikanya nafsha. She doesn't give herself over. And because of that, they barred the whole kinyan chalipin. So the Gemara says, okay, but why does it say she frees herself in two ways with the get and the death of her husband? Minyona de seifa lemute mai. What's that coming to exclude? Lemute chalitza. Here again, we might think a kal v'chaimer. Maybe by removing a shoe, she could free herself from marriage. So kedaita chamina teisi kal v'chaimer mi yavam. Because ma yavama, in order to be freed, if her husband died childless, in order to be freed from the zika, from the levirate attachment of the yavam, she can't just give a get. The get won't remove the zika. So ma yavama she'ena yoitza beget, yoitza b'chalitza, she could be freed with chalitza, and then the isra of loisiyah shetzamit tzilchut tzalish zar does not apply anymore. Zu she'yoitza beget, the wife that goes out with a get, eino din she'yoitza b'chalitza. Surely she should go out with chalitza. Kamash Mulan says, so Taka, why doesn't she go out with chalitza? Ve'ema achanami. It's a good kal v'chaimer. Amakra, the pasuk says, amiyat. Sefer creases. The only thing that achieves severance is a sefer, the get. Sefer karsa, ve'ein davar acher karsa. And something else does not cause severance. The get does not cause severance. Okay, look at that. Just like that, we're ready. Way into Amid Beis. That's the way it goes with Daf Yomi. When you learn Daf Yomi every night, sometimes you have an easy evening, and sometimes, as the veterans know, it's like pulling teeth. So we deserve to get an easy time once in a while. Says the Gemara, b'kesef. Minola, how do we know that a woman is acquired with kesef? And more than that, the din is that if a ketana or a nara is given over to marriage by her father, so he gets the money. So how do we know he gets the money? Minole, how do we know she's acquired with kesef? The father is the one that merits from his daughter the kiddushin b'kesef b'shtar u'b'biyah. So the din is that the father could have the license to give over his daughter with money, with shtar and b'biyah, minolan de mikanya b'kesef. How do we know that she could be acquired with money? The kesef davu, and that the money goes to the father. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, so Rabbi Yehuda wants to solve both things in a very interesting way. We know that in ancient times, there was a din of Amma Avriya, that a father was allowed to sell his young child. Now this was, it sounds barbaric, but it wasn't at all. The idea is that the father, a lot of times, a mother died in childbirth. That was, unfortunately, there was a lot of mortality in the olden days in childbirth. He had to go out to make a living. He couldn't take care of the girl. So what he did is he sold his daughter. Now this arrangement gave the one who purchased the girl the right to marry her to himself or to his son. That was called yiyud. It's a complex matter. The din is, though, that she only is in servitude until the age of 12 years and 1 day. And once she becomes of age of a nara, v'yotza chinam, she goes free, ein kesef. There's no remuneration to the one who bought her. He can't sell her. She goes automatically free. Now, once it says v'yotza chinam, she goes free, we know ein kesef. That's what chinam means. So the word ein kesef is superfluous. And we darshan ein kesef la zeh. There's no money given to this owner. Aval yesh kesef la achar. There is money given to another, so to speak, owner, and that's the father. Umaniu of, says the Gemara, but maybe the money should go to her. The ema ledida. So the Gemara says she doesn't have a yad. Who accepts the Kiddushin? The father. So does it make sense that he accepts the Kiddushin and the money goes to her? The father accepts her Kiddushin. As biti nosati l'isha, I gave my daughter the shakla kasva, and she gets the money. That doesn't make sense. But maybe you're right. If she's a katan, but if she's a nara already has a yad. Nara already has das. She doesn't have the ability to accept Kiddushin. Aval Nara, once she's a Nara, she's a Bas Mitzvah. The Isla Yad L'Kabel Kiddushin, Taktish I Nafsha, she should be Kaddish herself and get the money, the Tishkal Kaspa. Amakra, the Pasuk says, Binureha Beisavia. In her Nureha, in her Nairis, she's in the father's house. Kol Shvach Nurim Lavia. All profits of the Nurim go to the father. Says Gemara, that can't be a good drasha. Because how do we know that the salary of the daughter goes to the father? Shenema, because it says when a man sells his daughter as a maidservant, and we make a juxtaposition. Ma omo maisi yodea l'rabba, just like a Amavriya, her handiwork goes to the master. So a daughter, her salary goes to her father. What do we need that for? Why don't we learn it out from the pasuk of Binureha Beisavia? Tefik leimin Binureha Beisavia, that kol shvach and urim goes to the father, and avada when she's a ketana. Elamai, the pasuk of Binureha Beisavia is not so wide encompassing. It doesn't include her kesef kiddushin. It doesn't include her salary. It only is about annulling vows. That's where it's said. It's talking about a first nadarim, that a father has a right to annul the vows of his daughter even when she's a nara. Hachanami, it can't refer to the kesef kiddushin, but first nadarim udichsiv. So then why don't we learn it out from our first nadarim? If the father has the right to annul her vows, he also has the right to get her kesef kiddushin. You can't. Because vows is isser. And the accepting the money for kiddushin, that's money. And we have a klal, we don't learn out money from isser. So you'll say, but if she's raped, the father gets the knas. We should learn it out from the penalty of rape and seduction, which goes to the father. That's also no good, because we don't learn out monetary matters from knas. Learn it out from the payment for her humiliation and from her loss of value, which that's already a monetary payment and not a knas. Says Gemara, no. Can't learn it out from there either. Because we understand that the father has the right to collect her humiliation and her devaluation, because he could humiliate her by giving her over to a mukashchin. He could wed her, he's not a nice guy, but he could wed her to a man full of boils. And that will also devalue her, because he will make her not a psula. So, davu is shaykh begavayu. He could give her over to a mukashchin. But rather, the Gemara says, we're going to learn it out from the drasha that we started in the first place. And that is by the Amma of Riyah, it says, V'yotza chinam ein kosef. She goes out free, and the Odain who bought her doesn't get remuneration. And we said ein kosef is superfluous, because it could have just said V'yotza chinam. We know if she goes out free that there's ein kosef, that there's no money. So why does it say, thank you, why does it say ein kosef? Why does it say it? So we said ein kosef l'adon zeh. There's no money to this adon, but there is money to another adon, and that's the father. Now we had asked, maybe the money goes to her. There's no money to this adon, but there's money to her. So the Gemara says, well, what's similar to the adon? Just like the adon was the one that was in control of the servant, so the father is in control of the daughter, because he, after all, he could give her over into marriage. So therefore, mistaver dechikam emayit, that when it says that there is money, there's no money to the adon of remuneration, but there is money to someone else, yitzia de kavasa kam emayit, a similar yitzia, which is just like when she gets free, she goes out from the rishus of the adon. So also when she gets engaged, she goes out from the rishus of the father. So there's no remuneration from the adon when she leaves his rishus, but there is remuneration to the father when she leaves his rishus.